Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Son of a Witch. We continue with The Service. Somewhere in the sulphurous updraft above the great maw of South Stairs, Liir was born out of a dark, vile womb and thrown into the night. He came in to perch himself on a broomstick dozens of yards above the highest watchtower. Here was a cushion of wind, billowing him almost onto his side, causing his shins to tighten automatically against each other. His arms instinctively to wrap the broomstick harder. It was Liir in wind and heights and stars. It was alone, alone, and alone. The understandings were distinct and differentiated, and then suddenly annealed by a process he couldn't name. Maybe the fear of heights, his Liirness suddenly applied to himself and no one else. He didn't know what Liirness might mean, and he was sorry Elva wasn't around to raise a mocking eyebrow and sling a caustic remark. He might have been hurt by her sly doze, but could he have roused the hurt too? He saw now. Survived it, transformed it. A hurting Liir was a real Liir. However he'd come to be here, settling on an unstable bolster of thermal, leaning to slide up the banister of the night, there was no one else doing it but Liir. The Emerald City gaped at him, but it didn't understand what it saw. He was just a touch of ash from a hearty fire, a scrap of tinder across in the winds that were damn strong. They snatched at the hem of his cape and rolled it off his shoulders until it trailed behind him a stain. For his part, he saw the city in a way few others had. Well, Elphaba must have, and lucky enough to harness a phoenix, that rare creature. The view was like a model of the city moving with a possibly deft hand. Hundreds and hundreds of buildings, great and humble, glazed with tile and black soot. A city built on a gentle rise, he could now see, long slicing boulevards and curving promenades, a honeycomb of streets and canals, parks and squares, 1,000 mews, 10,000 alleys, 100,000 windows blinking bronzely, a glowing Oregon like the illuminated heart of Oz itself, pushed through the flesh of the land, pulsing with its own life, tricked out with monuments, defaced with a graffiti of broken trees, the palace of the wizard, a cancer upon the landscape, the dead center of it all. In his grief at having missed a chance to save Noor, in his shock of the unanticipated fight, and the confusion about what to do next, he was more successful with every breath. He circled with Emerald City, afraid if he landed he would return to be slightly dead. How could anyone live without flying? So the boyhood of Liir began new way, as that all that had gone before it happened to someone else. But it seemed amazing to him that he had been courage to set out cross country without Dorothy. Was it courage? Perhaps it had only been a sheer ignorance of the breadth and treachery of the world. The broom brought to him on the cobblestone quay near one of the smaller canals. The wind was strong, so itinerants were huddled face front around the blazer fires made of scrap wood and boards ripped from fences. No one saw him land. Bravado was not what he felt, but he felt something that was rare enough. A cold sense of thrill, absorbing the news of Noor's escape. Her being alive. Wounded, cursed, and battled. Alive nonetheless. He walked for a while the quay, but realized it was colder there and ducked into an alley. The broom on his shoulder bounced as he walked and looked for a place to doss down. It bounced harder, as if thwacking him with congratulation, but that was silly. He was walking with a spring in his step. After a while, he jumped 6-8 times in a row in glee, like a kid playing hop toad, call my hop toad. He'd look a right idiot to anyone peering out a window, but he didn't care. A good night's sleep under the rubble of the marketplace hay neither dampened his spirits nor inspired him with a plan. Eventually, he made it back to Lady Glinda's townhouse in Menipin Square. Perhaps she could arrange another meeting with Commander Cherrystone, who might be able to find out what happened when Noor had herself secreted upstairs. Or maybe Lady Glinda had an opening for a bootblack or a son. The houseboy who had first talked to Liir reported that Lady Glinda had repaired a mock beggar hall, the Shuffrey country pile near Westwater. There to be a good works among the rural poor. It pleased her to dispense Largest from time to time. It calmed her nerve and made her happier with her marriage. She brought her cabinet with her, hoping that some grouse hunting of a sunny afternoon would breed camaraderie and unity of purpose. Or, if not, the one or two of the more difficult ministers might be shot accidentally in a convenient hunting accident. More than one kind of grouse needs bringing down. That was how the houseboy put it anyway, with high knowingness. No, there was no way to say when her ladyship might return. In her absence, the household was investing in a pack of howling Bratweilers, which was a breed not known for its docile disposition. And take off that lies of livery, by the by, lest the house of Shuffrey be besmirched by whatever smut you're about to get up to. Liir was happy to oblige. His old garments, which had been placed in a bin for disposal, were dug out and tossed at him. Wriggling into them, Liir noticed an unfamiliar snugness, as if his limbs were lengthening after just one fight. The rest of his life and all its possibilities were like a landscape before him, and he couldn't help taking in 3 or 4 breaths, keenly and quickly, to sample the day. The air was bracing and his blood quickened. He felt as lithe and full of ginger as that cunning shell had seemed. Liir could commit a crime, or banter with fellows on the street, or wink at a girl and catch a kiss. That's what people did. He could see that. Soon first he answered the summons of a carillon and presented himself on the broad steps of a church. He had a dim memory of mountish prayers, but not of services, and this morning he felt worthy enough to feel humble. He would prostrate himself before whatever was up there and thank the unnamed God for having brought him close to the door, and asked what happened next. The doors were flung open, and the service just was starting. Was it a holiday and he hadn't known, or were churches in the Emerald City always this thronged? Peering between the unstooped shoulders of gentlemen standing in the vestibule, Liir caught sight of the wide, bright room, a preacher of some sort declaiming from a plinth to a sea of faces varnished with rapture or not, or at any rate close attention. I'm sure our unnamed God requires of us conviction and perseverance. I'm sure our unnamed God grants us the privilege of obedience. In the face of uncertainty, the one thing we can be sure is of the value of certainty. And the unnamed God bestows us the balm of certainty. He's sure of a lot, thought Liir. How consoling to stand with the sound of such confidence. By the way, he rolls our unnamed God off his tongue. The hour might as well be he's that well placed. People say, my God, all the time, but usually they mean, oh shit. He means something better. Liir stood on his toes. The homilist was an affable old man, neither handsome nor plain, rather forgettable, but radiant with the effort of explaining the unnamed God to all these devout and devoutly interesting people. He looked a bit like an animated puppet, tufts of hair behind his ears, taking a red tip from the colors windows behind him. Let's continue the celebration of Thanksgiving for our deliverance from the witch. Our independence from the wizard and our relief from the witch bring all laws to a new chance of greatness. Miss Grayling will lead us in Anthem 11. One truth alone. He wasn't sure he heard correctly. The room was so very crowded. And now, skirts rustled and scratched. Boots scuffled as people rose to sing. He didn't know the anthem, but the refrain was simple enough. One truth alone we hear, your secret holy plan. With so much yet to fear, we trust what truth we can. The choir sang an unintelligible verse, and the chorus began over and over again, and this time Liir tried to join in, but an usher grabbed him by the collar and saddled him backward over the threshold. I know what you're after, said the usher. Any cash in these pockets goes in the collection plate. I'm not a pickpocket, said Liir. Oh, he didn't exactly dress for the service, the usher had a point. Compared to the pious that nosy prayer, Liir looks like a peasant. Catch him inside again. I'll alert the constable who's sitting in the back row on the ready. Sorry, said Liir. Okay, I'm going to stop her right there. See you later.